What's up? It's your boy. Just played 9 holes of golf. Drank about 3 beers. Probably gonna go home and drink some more. But I wanted to make a video that I've been thinking about for a while. I'm gonna do my top 10 hip-hop albums of all time. Hip-hop music is something that has been, it wouldn't be a stretch to say that it's been actually like an important part of my life since like late high school, early college type times. So yeah, just kind of and I mean really it's, you know, the dominant music the dominant genre, I guess, of music today, and it has been for a while. But anyway, I've got a pretty solid top 10, or like a pretty defined top 10 list. I made it a while ago, probably a couple years ago. And it hasn't changed really. There've been, I mean, there really has been maybe like one album that has come even close to knocking any of these off, but it's pretty sturdy. So anyway, I'll just kick it off. Top 10 hip hop albums of all time. Number 1. I printed these sweet pics off at the library. Number 1, Mobb Deep, the infamous New York rap group from the 90s. I was born in 1990. I'm 27 years old, so my taste kind of skews towards, I mean, you're definitely going to see that when you watch this video. My taste skews towards 90s era hip-hop. And I mean, you know, I was only 10 when the 90s ended, but it's kind of obnoxious to like hold this the whole time. If I was Anthony Fantano, I would have like sweet, you know, editing skills, but I don't have any at all, which, like, if you watch any of the crappy, like, shitty fucking covers or whatever that I do, like, you would know that I literally, I mean, I'll get into it at some point. I'll get into, like, editing, maybe, and maybe, like, producing, like, music and shit, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, these are going to be pretty, like, uneducated, just opinions that are just based on, you know, I listen to all these albums all the time. They're part of my daily life, you know. I drive a truck right now, so I fucking listen to music all day. So that's all I really have to do. But before that, you know, I was smoking pot and just fucking still just listening to music all day. So I just fucking figured out my top 10 hip-hop albums, I guess. So yeah, Mobb Deep, 2 guys, Prodigy and Havoc. I don't even know, like I said, it's going to be uneducated. I don't know, this probably came out in the early 90s. Also, you know, if anyone is able to sort of like add anything, or like wants to like educate me on some of this shit, that would be awesome, because like I said, I don't really know what the fuck I'm talking about. It's just shit that I like. So basically, this is like New York sort of boom bap type shit, and it's really like aggressive, and really sort of visceral, and that's honestly kind of my favorite type of rap, because really, if you look at rap sort of over like its history, it's sort of like a regional thing, where you've sort of got like the East Coast, particularly New York, you've got the West Coast, particularly like LA, and you've got the South, particularly like Atlanta, and those regions have all kind of bred different very sort of distinct, different types of artists. And my personal taste has always skewed towards like the New York, which the best artists from there have been very cerebral, but also very sort of visceral. And you know, when you listen to that type of music, it's like you can tell these guys are like so smart, but also like they've fucking like lived the shit, and they've like, I give a shit about that. They, whatever, it just fucking gets it gets in you. Like this type of music for me personally, like it reaches me on such a level, and it just like amps me up, and it gets, you know, and for me, you know, I don't really experience like the struggles that these people do, you know, of like extreme pop. I mean, I'm poor, but I've lived a pretty privileged life, but you know, I certainly didn't grow up poor. I certainly didn't, you know, I wasn't either pressured or enticed, or I was in no way sort of interested in, like, you know, selling drugs at a young age or gangbanging or whatever. But sort of this New York sort of rap that came out in the 90s was very smart, but also very intense and violent, and it's something that it really is very, again, visceral to me, and really sort of just like, I don't know, for lack of a better way of putting it, amps me up, and sort of you know, and if I'm like, you know, having to deal with like a boss or like a superior, or just really any situation that sort of I feel like it is, you know, sort of the man getting me down or whatever, this type of music really sort of fires me up and gives me sort of the fucking confidence and shit that I need to sort of like really handle those types of situations. So again, at number 10, Mobb Deep. Probably, you know, the Shook Ones Part 2, fucking Survival of the Fittest is actually kind of my go-to, but it's boom bap. It's sort of like heavy on like bass and drums, and it sounds like, you know, someone's playing a fucking bass guitar and someone's hitting the fucking drums, and it's not, you know, all computerized and fucking, I don't know, it was probably simpler beats back then or whatever, but like it was more hard hitting to me, and the MCs sort of were more about I don't know, they had a better attention span for just fucking making thought-provoking rhymes in a way that for this particular group could sort of just amp you up and fucking I don't know, it just gets me going real hard. Alright, I'll move on to number 9. Probably the least deserving album on this list. It's more of a personal thing, really, but you know, it's just, here you go. Dr. Dre 2001. You could maybe argue that he's had more vital or interesting work, you know what I mean? Like maybe you say The Chronic is better or whatever, which is certainly possible, but 2001, you know, this is a personal list, and 2001 is just fucking great, you know? Mostly all the songs are good, and there's so many, and I just, Dr. Dre is like really, I think what he's proven over the last several years, I mean, what he's proven through his whole career is just like, he's like committed, you know? And, you know, he's producing artists now, working with like Anderson .Paak, and he's just about the fucking game, you know what I mean? And also, like, where you've got, you know, the people that he spawned, like Eminem and 50 Cent, like they're like too much in the public spotlight, sort of, and they've kind of gotten corny. Like, they've been easy to make memes out of and shit. Like, really funny fucking memes, because they're just like, you know, once they got past their prime, they're just fucking sort of a little bit of a joke. Like, I mean, obviously, both of those artists sort of, like, had an impact, and I mean, I fucking fuck with both of their shit from when they were back in the day, and even, like, 50 Cent has put out, like, that song with Chris Brown is dope, but, I don't know. Dr. Dre is sort of just always behind the fucking scenes and always just, like, trying to work on the music, and 2001 just has the best fucking hits, and it's funny, it's hilarious. There's a great performance from a female on there. I don't remember, I don't have any idea who she is, but it's awesome. You know, the bitch is better off to masturbate and be out. Like, I gotta figure out who that is, because she's great. And obviously great performances from Eminem on this. Personally, for me, a lot of times his sort of let's start at the penis, see who gives a fucks and really means it shit is, like, made fun of, and it's, like, sort of clowned on, because it is a little bit goofy, but at the same time, like, you know, this to me was Eminem at his most vital, and, like, when he was just so angry, and he sort of just mattered. I don't know, and just great songs all around. Great album, fantastic album. Number 8, The Roots, Things Fall Apart. Again, it's a personal list. This is really the only album I know by The Roots, but it's fantastic, you know. It's very groovy. What's the dude's name, the MC's name? Black Thought. I mean, to me, I listened to this album, I came into this album in high school, and just really fell in love with it, definitely. I listened to Black Thought, and I thought he was one of the more interesting MCs that I had heard, really. You know, I'm the type of N-word that belongs in a ward, with a mic and a sword. Like, I don't know, it just cuts really, like, his MC skills cut really hard. The songs are super groovy, and it's just great song after great song, and I love it. Before they were Jimmy Fallon's band, they were a legendary fucking hip-hop group, a big, you know, that plays instruments. Like, what hip-hop group is like a fucking band? Like, that doesn't happen. So that's amazing. Number 7 is a lot of people don't know this guy, and I talk to, like, young guys that are, like, you know, whatever, like, into hip hop heads, and, you know, they'll know, like, A$AP Rock or whatever, but they don't know this guy. And he's a white rapper, and this was an easy pick for the top 10. Just a fantastic album. Sage Francis, Personal Journals. Doesn't really get enough recognition at all. Definitely probably isn't well known in the urban community whatsoever, but, you know, again, he's a white rapper, and his skills are incredible, and he's sort of just, this particular album, Personal Journals, you can tell, like, it really came sort of from, like, the heart, from a lot of personal experiences that he had probably with family members, and I guess, like, relationships, whether they're romantic or not, and just, like, I guess it's like sort of like dark in a way, but it's just talking about people that he's known, I think, that are, like, addicts or in sort of, like, despondent sort of brutal, helpless seeming situations, and his skill is just second to none. Like, he's one of the better MCs. Like, he's maybe the first person on the list that I would say, like, just really based off the strength of this album, he doesn't really have anything else in his catalog that's, as far as a full album, that's quite as good as this. But his skill is definitely there, and it's, again, mostly based on this album, one of the better, just most quality MCs, like, probably that's going to be on the list. Speaking of great MCs, number 6, current guy who, this album, you know, is when I, like probably a lot of people, sort of got on board or whatever, you know. And I saw this, really, I remember, like, looking at fucking Pitchfork.com in 2009, you know, they got their album reviews up all the time, and seeing this cover, and it's got 2 covers, and maybe based on that, you know what I'm talking about. But really, I saw both covers, and I was like, wow, that is a fucking, like, pretty album cover. Like, that really is intriguing to me. I bet I'll probably like this. And of course I did, and of course he came on to be, you know, to me personally, the most relevant, interesting MC in, like, the entire 2010s, bar none. Everything that he does is, you know, any track that he hops on, he's got something to fucking say, and, like, really got something to fucking say, obviously, and, I don't know, great dude, great fucking guy. Obviously, we're talking about K-Dot, fucking, number 6 on the list, fucking Good Kid, Mad City. Really turned me on to Kendrick, like a lot of people. You know, the album has a lot of themes of, sort of like religion. You know, Kendrick is borderline a little bit like a fanatic sometimes in terms of his, you know, Christianity, but it obviously brings out, I mean, it obviously informs his life in a way that is, dare I say, positive, and, I don't know, he's just fucking a great rapper, like, one of the best of all time. Number 5, Madvillain. So this one is like a collaboration between, a couple of different artists, and, you know, again, this is sort of where my uneducatedness comes in, because, so there's definitely, things happening on this album are, Quasimodo, Madlib, and, MF Doom. There's some, in some way, and maybe 2 of those people are the same person, I don't really know, I've never really known, you know, sometimes I nerd out on shit, sometimes I don't, but, I would say that those 3 names are relevant, and this album is sort of, more, I mean, cloud rap is a thing that happens today, but it's not exactly cloud rap, but it's more just like, sort of like spacey and like druggy. It's a stone's throw sort of situation, so if you know that label, like, I think started by Peanut Butter Wolf, white guy, rapper, producer, it's got, you know, it's sort of like spacey, and, I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe Madlib is the MC responsible for, like, the rhymes that aren't in the weird, like, high-pitched thing, which is Quasimodo, which, again, those might be the same person. I don't fucking know. I've never really fucking known. I just listen to the fucking music. I love it. I always feel like a fucking badass. Like, really, if I want to just, like, vibe, and, like, I don't want to, like... I mean, obviously, I'm not, like, a murderer. Like, I've never fucking killed anyone, but, like, if I'm, like, really fucking pissed off, I'm listening to, like... Mobb Deep, and like maybe some of the people that I'm gonna name, like, here in the 1 through 4 section, but like, if I just want to, like, vibe and I want to feel like a cool motherfucker, like, I'm listening to this shit all the time, like, and I just feel superior to everyone because I know that I'm listening to some of the best music that has ever been created. It's fucking great. It's funny. It's smart. Which is it's going to be a running theme. I think I sort of touched on this earlier, but like my favorite type of music, rap music, personally, my absolute favorite is the type that is like violent, but at the same time really intelligent and obviously sounds great. Typically it sort of has like a boom bap type of vibe or beat going on with the, you know, the bass and the drums and sort of like that whole type of situation. Anyway, number 5, Madvillain. Great shit. Number 4, Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders. Again, or not again, but so Fantano, like that dude is, I watched that dude for like he's certainly never turned me on to anything, but I watched that dude for fucking like shit that I know about and to listen to his opinion on it, because it's like, you know, just listening to someone talk about music that I already have an opinion on and sort of, you know, that either accentuates my opinion or has nothing to do with my opinion, and then I kind of shit on him a little bit in the comments, but whatever, he does his thing, he's alright. But Midnight Marauders is, the reason I brought him up was because he did this whole thing about the low end theory, which is another Tribe Called Quest album, which is inferior to this album. And I think most people would agree with that. Like, that was why I was so like perplexed by the fact that he did this whole thing on the low end theory. It's like, dude, Midnight Marauders is the fucking album. If you're gonna talk about Tribe Called Quest, it's 3 guys and it's New York hip hop, but it's not like, it's not the same as like the violent fucking boom bap shit. It's, I mean, I'm sort of like compelled to say that it's more cerebral, but they're still talking about like fucking bitches and shit, you know what I mean? But there's also a line, you know, from I believe Fife, where he says, where he talks about how, you know, not all rappers are spewing negativity. We have a slew of rappers pushing positivity. So that's kind of a little bit of what you're getting from a Tribe Called Quest. It's not so obsessed with like the gutter and like the worst parts of humanity that some of my other favorite types of hip hop are, but it's still got all the skill and all the intelligence of the greatest hip-hop of all time, you know what I mean? And, you know, and it's just as funny. That's another thing that I haven't really brought up. Like, a lot of hip-hop is just hilarious. Like, it makes me laugh. And, I don't know. I think I'm a person who's, like, somewhat difficult to make laugh at times. Like, I think I sort of have a bit of a particular sense of humor, and this does it. This specifically, you want to know the funniest line on this album is, again, Phife Dawg, rest in peace, is talking about, you know, having sex with a female, and he goes soft on the girl's couch, and now she's got Siemens furniture. And Siemens, S-I-E-M-A-N-S maybe, was an actual furniture store that existed, I think, like in the 90s. Man, I don't know. It's defunct now. It's not around anymore. But that line is amazing. Also, again, Phife Dawg, again, rest in peace. Phife Dawg is my name, but on stage call me Dynamut. Like, he just made up this word Dynamut, which is you know, which is so clever. Like, his name's Phife Dawg, and he's Dynamite, and so he's combining dynamite with mutt. I'm sure I don't have to explain this for you, but so he's Dynamut. Hilarious, awesome, clever, greatness, total greatness. Number 3, and I'm gonna run out of space pretty soon, so I'm probably gonna have to split this into 2 videos. Number 3, Enter the Wu-Tang Clan. This one I actually might know the year on, maybe like 93, maybe? I want to say maybe 93. Definitely the greatest hip-hop group of all time. All of the members would go on to, maybe not all the members, but to me personally, I liken the Wu-Tang Clan to the Beatles of rap, because it is a lot of very singular, it was a lot of very singular, very different, unique, interesting, innovative voices that sort of combined to make this amazing music. And I guess the difference between, you know, the Beatles had 3 geniuses in the group. They had Harrison, Lennon, and McCartney, who all sort of combined to make this incredible music. The Beatles had more vital albums than the Wu-Tang Clan. I'm not exactly sure why, but it's a similar thing, because the Beatles all went off and had great solo albums. Each member of the Beatles put out excellent solo work, and the Wu-Tang Clan is similar in the fact that they all went off and made just great fucking albums. Jizza Liquid Swords, Raekwon has a great album, I can't remember the name of it. The one album that I probably could have replaced 2001 with was Old Dirty Bastard, Return to the 36 Chambers. It's a great album. It's a total favorite. It's more of a recent development that I've gotten so into that, but he's probably one of my top MCs of all time too. Like, I've said Say Trances, I've said Kendrick, I would say Old Dirty Bastard. Just such a unique voice, so interesting, so funny, so sort of tragic. And he was just great. Like, I don't know, just an unbelievable talent. Died too young, rest in peace to him as well. And then, obviously, rest in peace to my number 2. Here you go, Notorious B.I.G., Ready to Die. This is probably, honestly, my number 1 MC of all time. So charismatic, so really, this album has everything that I love about hip-hop in it, for the most part, especially in terms of just his skill as an MC. Like, it's just his voice and his flow and everything is so wet, and it's so, you know, he's talking about the most disgusting things, but he's doing it in a way that is so entertaining and so innovative and so interesting. And, you know, it's poetry, but it's like, it is poetry. Because the way that he uses words is beautiful, but he's talking about just obscene, fucking terrible shit, but he's doing it in a way where it's just like so appealing. And, you know, it's just amazing. He's one of the best. And one thing that I didn't talk about earlier was that, and again, this is kind of like another thing that might lead to saying that 2001 isn't necessarily so deserving of this, is probably my biggest gripe about 2001 is they have this track, sort of an interlude type thing called Pause for Porno, which to me is a very blatant ripoff of sort of one of the skits that Biggie does, which is like, I think he was actually fucking this bitch. Like, it sounds very real. It sounds like a very real sexual thing of where the Notorious B.I.G. is having sex with a woman, and like, you listen to it, if you listen to this in a car with someone, like, listen to this in your car with your mom or some shit, you will